technology. So we talked about what is application programming interface. We talked about what is backend as a service. Now the backend database, I think this must be clear by now. We just talked about it. Any database is accessed indirectly by the user is called backend database. Then backend database can also be classified into multiple categories. One is, we talked about just simple database. This can be either your RDBMS, which is like table and column structure, or it can be your NoSQL as well. So some of the example of RDBMS, Oracle is actually providing RDBMS, and this is one of the enterprise level database. So with this, like, you should be able to create application that supports RDBMS, and then NoSQL are some of the examples where Firestore, if we talk about MongoDB, Note, and DynamoDB, so these are NoSQL databases. Right. Okay. Talking about big data. So you know the data is growing so fast that in 2020 it was recorded that the data which was created in last 100 years, this was created in just 1 year. And the reason is there are so many like things enabled it. First is obviously the internet. So many mobile users and so much data to actually predict the user behavior, and that is the key reason why this data is being so humongous. But how to support that data? Because when we talked about the application level data, it is never designed to be that big. It has to certain transactions which are either user inputted or something. But when we talk about the behavioral data, it is very diversified. If you log into your Facebook, whatever you are doing, how many screens you are changing, which kind of photos and the content that you're liking, so all this data is being captured, and that is where it is just to predict your behavior, whether you are more like a political person and you want to see that kind of content, you are more towards the entertainment, or you are more into the education related stuff. So that is where it is important to predict the behavior and to showcase the right content. And it's been very debatable as well when Facebook was caught considering like to capture the data at that level of detail. So how to support this kind of humongous data? So big data is one of the platform which is different from traditional RDBMS, and that is a very good example of distributed system. So what they are saying, a broad term used to describe unconventional data set which are either too large or too complex to be dealt with using traditional data processing techniques. So they save this data into multiple nodes, and this kind of data in NoSQL or any RDBMS system, there are certain techniques to access the data and write the data as well. And there are Hive queries on Hive tables which can actually help you to access the data and make it more readable for analytics perspective. So those who are going to make career from this group in the data analytics, they will certainly come across this big data and working with the humongous data for sure. Now I